it's going to cost too much, it's going to mess up our view, it's going to do this or that, or, I can't count on it. Being able to kind of look at each one of those barriers and kind of take it down one at a time through a conversation with somebody.
I've had a lot of people pleasantly surprised at the price. They're like, oh man, I thought it was going to be so much more than that.
All of these parents are, educating themselves on car seats and strollers
Right.
and the best baby gates. And what about the pool in your backyard?
Welcome to the A-Safe Pool Podcast. My name is Jason Howard. I'm the owner along with my wife, Tonja, and today we have Travis Allen, who is our franchisee in Austin, Texas. And we really just want to talk today about the growth of A-Safe Pool and our mission to reduce the number of drownings across the country as quickly as we possibly can. It's a leading cause of death in children under the age of 6, and we're doing everything we can to reduce those numbers. A couple of years ago, Tonja and I were talking about, the pool safety industry in general, and there's just a lot of one-man shows out there operating out of their pickup truck and their garage and stuff, and just there wasn't a level of professionalism that we thought needed to exist in this industry. And so we decided to start franchising and be able to provide the model that has worked for us for 20 years and trying to expand that across the country in every location that has a significant number of pools. So just bringing that level of professionalism to the industry, bringing a superior product to the industry, building something as strong and as safe as we possibly can, and at the same time offering that at an affordable price to our network so they can be competitive in their local markets and just get as many jobs in the ground and save as many kids as we possibly can. So the franchise model is a lot different than these guys just buying stuff online and working out of the back of their truck. And the product is substantially better than anything that you'll find that those guys are using. And we're showing up in a wrapped vehicle in uniforms with a nationally branded product, and we're just trying to elevate the entire experience really for the consumer with this, where we're not sitting back and phone quoting. We're getting out into the backyards, we're having conversations with our customers. What is going to work best for them? How should we design this fence in the backyard to make sure that it's safe, but that we also want to maintain the functionality of the backyard. We want the backyard to be as usable as possible, even though there's a pool fence up now. So those are all the kinds of things that we're bringing to the industry that just really didn't exist prior to this.
Absolutely. My name's Travis Allen. I'm working in the Austin area as a franchise owner for the A-Safe Pool. I really enjoy the area. I'm a native Texan and I've been in Central Texas for over 10 years now. And so, really when I learned of A-Safe Pool and I looked at the area around and just how many pools there are, how many young families there were, it seemed just right away as a good quality fit in terms of the need in my personal community in Texas. And then the more I learned about A-Safe Pool, it's funny, just the handful of things you mentioned there, Jason. The research I did and what I understood about the safety industry with pools at the time, it's just there wasn't that level of professionalism. Like you said, the products were inconsistent. There wasn't really a way. And when you're working with people we're talking about the seriousness of the safety of their children, as well as the quality of their space, their backyard, something that's really important to them and how it looks and how it functions. Right away I saw that you all were hitting the nail on the head with that industry and bringing the professionalism to it, bringing the high quality products to it that really I saw as the main barrier between so many families getting a pool fence or some type of safety barrier and not. And therefore the difference between, a lot of children being ultimately protected. So I really appreciated the quality right off the bat that I saw as a necessity to consistently work with customers in their space, drill into their concrete of their nice pools that they really enjoy, and make sure that you're doing it where you're creating a safe space and a really functional space. I think that that's something unique about Austin. It's just the unique spaces that there are. Every home I walk into is different. Every backyard I walk into is different. There's a lot of hills and terrain in Austin that create really unique spaces in their backyard. So I walk into a lot of spaces that the owner's like, hey, I don't know how we should do this or what it should look like, but I need it to be safe here. Like, what are y'all capable of? And the quality of the consultation that we give them, the quality of the product that we know can be customized to fit unique spaces, is a huge part of being able to address that, unique backyard that I walk into every single time and come up with a good solution that's safe but also functional in the space.
That's a good point, yeah.
And I think that given the terrain I see in Austin, just the variety of the types of places we walk into, between the city and the outskirts and the kind of variety there, I think the versatility of the product is important as well in fitting those different spaces. So one thing too about Austin that's interesting is I see them, a component of their decision is how it will operate if they have people over, right? They're really social. The I guess atmosphere, the vibe there is people want to host parties. They want to have people over. Austin is a very social kind of place, and so being thoughtful of like how it's going to look and how it's going to function is really important to them. And I think that it meets a need there's a misconception about how it's going to look. And the number one feedback we get is, hey, this looks better than we thought it was going to. This is something that we can take up and down if we want to, but also looks good the way it is standing. It's transparent and is high quality that way. And the last thing too I think is unique about Austin is how many young families there are in these unique properties that really want to enjoy their whole space there. And the thing I don't think people realize the freedom that they're going to have whenever their pool is protected and they've got a designated pool area where you go and enjoy the pool, your tables and chairs and everything are there, but you've got the rest of the land around your home or whatever it is that you've got there able to be enjoyed by your kiddos, and they can run and play, and you have that peace of mind that goes a long way in enjoying your home as a parent and really feeling comfortable there, is that you've got a real peace of mind in terms of your kiddo safety. And so I see that as a huge part of that Austin market, is that parent that's looking for that.
As we talk about dealers and then franchisees, and one of the benefits I think of being a franchisee too is you can tap into that knowledge anytime, right? So you are actually experienced, right? So when you're going out there, you know about safety, how to configure the pool fence, all of those things that I think are really important, because I think anybody, like you said, if somebody's quoting a job over the phone, they're not there in person, they don't have the knowledge, they're not able to put their eyes on that. So I think as a franchisee too, it isn't just about, there's so much to this, right? And you have that, like I said, that knowledge that goes above and beyond that. It's quality. And as well as, I think, when we all talk about educating about water safety, right? That's a very huge part of what we do as well. And the peace of mind aspect of that, I think that you're spot on when you say a lot of families don't realize how much peace they will have, right, until that fence is up.
Right.
We've gotten those calls, and I'm sure you have too, where, and you talk about this all the time, is someone will call and say, thank you so much for installing this pool fence. My toddler got out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, we have been at this for 20 years now.
Yeah.
And have installed thousands and thousands of fences, and it's extremely rewarding when someone calls up and says, I mean, my little guy got out of sight the other day. I found him in the backyard, and thank goodness we had that pool fence up, or who knows what would have happened. I mean, it's so important what we do, and we really try to get that across to all of our franchisees and ingrain that in them, that this isn't, an outdoor barbecue that people are buying, or a gazebo or whatever. I mean, we're talking a matter of life and death here, and it's extremely important what we do, from the quality of the product that we're using, the quality of the installation that's happening. And, being a franchisee, and Travis can speak to this, where he has access to me, he has access to JP and our installation crew here in Phoenix, where if he gets stumped on a job, or hey, I'm not quite sure how to handle this, or I haven't seen this before, or well, we have, with our 20 years of doing this. And so, I know it's happened a number of times over the last year and a half that Travis has been with us, where hey, I'm kind of stumped on this. How would you suggest that we do this? And so we'll jump on a FaceTime and figure it out. And that's happened, and that's what we're here for. And we're here to make sure that all of our franchisees are as successful as they possibly can be.
You said that so much better than I did. Thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Well, I can definitely speak to that. Just being out and encountering a unique spot where it's, hey, how do I need to put this pole in so that it operates correctly? And that Chris or JP or Jason, a lot of the different, everyone's kind of helped me out. Tanya's helped me out in a lot of different ways, just with different aspects of it. They're always a call away, very responsive, just like people that I knew I could count on.
Yeah.
And it was definitely important for me, to have partners that I could count on, that I was going to be relying on. I came from a corporate kind of background where I'd worked in some big companies, and when I was looking for making a change, it was going to be something that really I could rely on to provide for a family. And I knew that the partnership needed to be at high quality, and I think that was a big part of just seeing start to finish the commitment to doing it well. And I really appreciated that. And that's all the way from when I first signed on all the way to when I'm out there in the field. And then I'm like, hey, I need to figure out how I need to do this so that it works correctly, so that the customer has something they're happy with and something that looks good. And so the experience that you all had in this space was something that was really invaluable to me, and was definitely something that I wouldn't have been able to have a first year really like I did without that help. So I really do appreciate that. And it's also something that you learn like pretty quick. You're out there, and it's something that I really enjoyed learning how to do it, understanding it. It really is something that is enjoyable to do on a daily basis. And so I think that comes across to our customers as well, that we're being thoughtful about how we're going about it. We look at each project as a unique space that's important to people and doing it right. And I think that definitely helps us stand out when I encounter any kind of competition. The quality of just doing the process the right way, being thoughtful and consultative, being there in person, helping them think through all the different aspects of the functionality of the space, how it's going to look, leaning on your expertise, really goes a long way to people being appreciative of the product, as opposed to, like you said, it's not like a grill or something. It's something that actually matters in terms of safety, and you're going to see it. It's going to be up in the back, and so doing it the right way.
Right.
That I think is a big barrier. I know we wanted to kind of think about, what stands in people's way, and I guess the lack of what's out there, what the fence actually looks like, how easy it is to actually take up and down. There's a bunch of reasons if someone is uncertain about a fence that they can come up with for like why we shouldn't get it. It's going to cost too much. It's going to mess up our view. It's going to do this or that, or I can't count on it. Being able to kind of look at each one of those barriers and kind of take it down one at a time through a conversation with somebody, and they look around like, wow, this is, y'all have kind of recognized all the things that are kind of holding people back from doing this at a higher level, and identified each one and came up with a product and a way to do it that fits it really well. Just as a really good fit to what somebody's looking for. And as a franchisee and someone doing the selling of it, it's really easy. I don't ever have to talk someone into it or like convince them that it's going to actually be safe.
Right.
They know that. They're looking for someone to come in and do it in a quality way for a reasonable price in like a reasonable amount of time. And when we can deliver on that, it really,
And I find educating them, they don't know what they don't know. And I don't, you can't possibly think of everything. And so I think the knowledge that, you bring as a franchisee and the others, that matters as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. People, they say, hey, is this possible? What do you think about that? Or how can we set it up? And when you give them an idea or a thought on, hey, how it might be able to function better, or look better to do it one way or the other.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. There's not like a resource really to go to. You can look at pictures on websites and online, but when I say, hey, I've personally done this hundreds of times, and here's how it's going to look the best, and here's why it's going to work out well, and they can be like, cool, that feels good. I've got a million questions about it, and being able to kind of just go one by one and make them feel good about it, and not have to be like, well, this and well, that, and It just fits well with what people are looking for and the things that hold them back. And I think that's kind of what I've turned my, especially when I'm estimating and working with clientele, is like just trying to help them identify what the actual barriers are that are stopping them, that are making them worried, whether it's them or, their significant other is important as well. A lot of times it's a family, parents that are moving in, and one maybe wants it and the other one doesn't, or something like that. And I think that's a big thing that holds people back too. Sometimes it's a scary topic. It's not fun to talk about really, or to think about, or to worry about. And so it's easy to kind of just pretend like it's not going to happen, or, hey, I really want to do this thing that I don't know if it's going to look good. I don't know if it's going to work good. We just bought this new house and spent all this time and money getting ready here, and now we're going to put this thing in that we don't know anything about. Being able to remove that uncertainty to be able to put something safe in, I think is something that I've really enjoyed with it.
Well, and I think, look, that's exactly what you touched on, several points that I want to readdress here. And we're at A Safe Pool, we're not just looking to find guys and girls to sling pool fences up, and that's not the mission. Here is to save lives, right, and reduce the number of drownings that we have in this country. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, just here in Phoenix, we lose an average of a busload of children every single year, right? Yeah. So we don't want to find guys and gals just slinging up pool fences and not caring about what's going on, right? We want to create and develop experts in the pool safety field, right? So all of our franchisees can walk into a backyard and they're taking it serious. They're having serious conversations with their customers. We're coming up with a configuration that works great for their backyard. And like you said, especially in Austin, every backyard is so unique. I mean, even the times that I have FaceTimed with you on some of these jobs, I'm like, wow, that's a unique backyard, right? And it's one that you're not going to see again, right? So you have to know how to tackle each one of those, right? And come up with a configuration that's going to completely block off the pool from every access point. I mean, at this point of the business, I'm not out in the backyards on a daily basis like I used to be, right? But I spent, 15 years of my life in the backyards of swimming pools every day. And you have to be that expert. You have to be able to walk in and say, look, I know exactly what to do here, right? You walk in and I would always ask the customer, hey, do you have a configuration in mind, right? Kind of throw the ball in their court. Like, what do you see back here? And very, very often they would say, oh, well, I think I'm just going to go from here to here. And I said, okay, well, would you mind, if I just walk around the backyard for a minute, just check out the whole area and I'll be right back. And sure enough, we have an access point, on the side of the garage, or a sliding glass door around the side of the house or whatever. And they're like, I didn't even think of that. Right. I'm like, well, that's why I'm here, right? It's my job to make sure that we make this pool safe for your kids, right? So it just, it's so rewarding, I guess is the right word for me, and just something that I've enjoyed, and I hope that translates to all of our franchisees and that they really enjoy what they're doing. And we have a mission here that has purpose, right? And just trying to get the word out. I bang my head against the wall, Travis, and Tonja and I have this conversation all the time. I'm like, every time we see a little one drown, it happened just in Houston, Texas, just, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago, I think. Twin girls, they were 2 or 3 years old, I think. And, no barrier in place. And I'm like, how does this happen? How do you have a swimming pool in your backyard without any protection around it? Like, I don't understand. Like, for me, I can't understand it. Like, why do you have a swimming pool back here without any sort of barrier up? It just...
I think that's it is part of our mission, right? To educate. And, I think to get that word out there, right? the stats on drowning, why, and it is true. People will say, I just didn't know, or I didn't think about it. And it's real, right? So I think that part of that is being able to, I feel so strongly, as I know you do, is getting that word out. I always use the word mainstream. We talk so much about, in schools, stranger danger. I say this every time. All these things. What about water safety? What about it's rarely touched on in the mainstream, right?
Yeah,
So,
it seems that way. It's such a present danger. It's like right there, it's right out your back door.
Right.
Right. There are a lot of things that we worry about in this world that are outside of our home.
Yes.
And so
good point. Yeah.
having that present danger right in your backyard.
Yeah.
And wanting to be able to enjoy that space, right? Whether it's the pool itself or the area around the pool, not wanting to be afraid of it, not wanting to have that stress kind of on you all the time where I'm going to just try to watch as hard as I can and that's going to be how we're going to do it like that.
Yeah.
That added onto somebody is really difficult. We work a lot too with people who are have just built a pool or have just bought a house and are moving into a house with a pool.
Right.
And I think that's an interesting situation too. When we talk about educating, like how many times I have that consultation with somebody and they have either just bought the house or just built the pool, and this is the first time they're thinking about, wait a minute, I want to make sure this is safe, and
right.
And it's a situation I actually like to be in because there are a lot of times you look around, it's like, oh man, this is kind of a tough spot. We need to come up with something good here, and it's a challenge that I think we do a good job with.
Yeah.
But in terms of just getting people to think ahead of I want to design this pool maybe with a fence in mind, or I want to pick a home that maybe that is either a fence is going to fit in well, or maybe already has a fence and that type of thing. And then I see people who spend a lot of time, effort, and money doing either a new pool or a new home, and they can't enjoy it all the way until I get the fence in. I work with a lot of parents, moms who are helping move in, and they're like, well, we're moving in this day, so I need it done before, because if not, they're there just watching them for a week or two, or they're like, hey, we've been here 2 weeks and I'm just stressed, I can't take it, we're gonna put something up because I can't fully enjoy this space that we've invested in, or whatever it is, without having that protected. It's an interesting thing.
It's my favorite customer for sure. I love dealing with the parents and grandparents that are proactive, that are thinking like we're thinking. Hey, I'm moving into this place on Friday. If you guys can't be there on Friday, we're not moving in yet, right? And we'll juggle things around and get it done, because the last thing we want is, you're out, you're moving in to a new place and have a couple of moving trucks outside and it's chaos, right? It's crazy. Hey, where does this box go? Where do you want this? Where do you want that? And now we're worried about, the little one getting out of sight, So I'll speak for myself on this. I love dealing with parents and grandparents that are concerned and being proactive about this. We're already on the same page, right? You have a problem in that your pool is not safe, right? And we have the solution, right? So love working together to come up with what works best for them in that situation, and love dealing with people that are happy to have a pool fence installed, right? Instead of, oh gosh, I can't, I don't really want to do this, and blah blah blah,
And we talk about the alternative to that,
Yeah. And look, we did another podcast, and I got some hate for saying this, but I'm going to say it again, and because it's based on my experience, okay? So don't come at me with your hate, right? It's real. It happens all the time. And maybe you can speak to this, Travis. Maybe it's happened to you too. But, and I'm not saying that all dads don't want a pool fence, right? But a lot of them do. And that's great and it's awesome, right? And they're just as concerned about keeping little Johnny safe as mom is, right? But I have found that the resistance to protecting a pool 9 times out of 10 falls with the male in the household. And I can't wrap my head around that. We had it happen here in Phoenix just 2 weeks ago. Mom was basically begging, I need this fence. We need this fence. You know, we got to do something. And he's like, nope, I don't want it. I don't want to look at that. You know, you watch him. You know, that's your job to watch him. I'm like, guy, she cannot keep her eyes on him 24/7. You know, she has to use the restroom. Somebody rings the doorbell. I really want to put a message out there to all the other dads. Like, dude, get over it, right? It's a temporary situation. We have to have something up for a few years. And then you take it down and your backyard looks exactly like it did, all right?
Right.
But I cannot wrap my head around anybody willing to take that risk, literally a life and death risk, over, I don't want to look at a pool fence. Right. You know, I've had other dads say, hey, I don't care I don't care what color it is. I don't care how tall it is, whatever, I want it. Right. I don't care if it's 10 foot high and pink, you know, I'll take it, you know? Right. So I'm not bashing all dads out there. I'm just saying that the resistance that we have experienced over the last 20 years, 9 times out of 10 falls on the dad. I can't remember a mom ever saying, I don't want that. I tend to get a little, I don't know what the word is, maybe obnoxious or aggressive on this subject.
Really passionate.
Yeah, like it's like, dude, come on, man. We're talking about the life of your child here. Like, what is the problem?
Right.
You know, like
what is the hesitation?
I don't even. I can't wrap my head around the hesitation.
Yeah.
You know, like, kids get out of sight. You know, every single drowning that happens, someone was supposed to be watching them.
Right.
Okay. We just talked about that one in Houston. Well, both mom and grandpa were home, and 2 little kids still drown with 2 adults home. So when you tell me, oh, I'm going to watch my kid, really? You got eyeballs in the back of your head and you have one eye open when you're sleeping, and, you know, it's just, we have to have that barrier up. You know, if there would have been a pool fence up, I don't care what kind of pool fence it is, any type of barrier up at that home, those 2 little girls would still be alive today. And they're not, right? Yeah. So it makes my blood boil a little bit. And I've probably ticked a few people off over the years, you know, especially when I was still out in the backyard doing estimates, and I would come up to that resistance, and I would just look at them and say, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you thinking here? Like, what, really?
Yeah.
Like,
when you've created where there's a situation where there's no reason not to, right? He might be really against it, and he might lay out a bunch of different reasons, and you're able to go one by one of why that's not, you know, we're solving that. That's not going to be a problem. Okay, you know, kind of going through those, and you've created this. I think it's clear your passion through the company, the mission you've created, the product you've created, where we can go in and actually make that happen. I definitely see, like I said, there are so many dads that are very much into it. So it's definitely not a thing for all dads. I think my main experience with it is with speaking with and doing consultations with moms. Little kids typically around while it's going on, dad's not there, and the main thing I hear from them is, well, the main issue is my husband needs to be happy with it, or I want to make sure I've got all the details just right, so when I go to bring it to him, I give it to him in just the right way that he feels like it's a reasonable thing to think about, at least.
Right.
And so that's what my experience is, and I just hate that I see a mom that's put in a tough spot between stressing about her kiddos and wanting them to be safe, but also not being able to feel like they can bring it in a way that is going to be met with, you know, hey, that's a good idea, or being into it. Mm-hmm. And that's such a tough spot to be in. And so that would be my encouragement too, is just like for dads, just to be, you know, everything has improved over time, right? The quality of what we're doing, like what their impression of a fence is from when they were a kid, or something that looks terrible, or it doesn't work well, or is going to be thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, it's just, we've been able to, you know, and through particularly y'all's hard work, come up with a product that really is, you know, meeting all the different issues that maybe people had, or whatever caused that stigma against fencing from the past. We've just kind of knocked out each of the barriers that exist there, and so that feels good to be able to go into a home and tell a mom, hey, here's the answer to all the different things they're going to worry about. How do they install it? What's it like in the concrete? Is it going to do this? And what's the warranty like? What's the, is it going to last forever? Are we ever going to hear from these guys again? Like all the different things they worry about, the transparency of it. What does it actually look like? Can I see projects this person's actually done from recently, and it's all right there. Okay, it's a reasonable cost too. Hey, they can do it next week. Kind of just knocking all the things out that
which gets back to, A Safe Pool and our franchisees we're going out to the home, right? You can't address all of those things that you just listed.
Right.
Trying to do a phone quote,
right.
To me, those guys are just lazy, and they don't want to put in the time. So if you're sitting back trying to do phone quotes, you're not taking this seriously, right? You got to get out, have the conversations, go over all the questions that they have. I mean, every time I think I've been asked every single question about what we do and how we do it, somebody comes up with something new, right? Or a different question or a different angle. So to be there and to be able to address all those questions and concerns is invaluable, And that's where we do try to schedule our estimates when both mom and dad are going to be there, right? We want to have that conversation with everybody at once. It's not always possible, as you know, right? A lot of times we're dealing with just mom, and hey, I got to run it by my husband, and da 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 da. And then I've had other moms that say, no, let's do it. You don't need to talk to your husband.
Yeah.
No, this isn't even up for debate, and it's going in, right? So let's get it scheduled. So I'd like to circle back on to the pricing, right? So, it's interesting because I've seen all kinds of different reactions over the years that we've been doing this, and I remember, I'd hand somebody a quote and say, okay, look, we've talked about everything that we want to do here, and here's the price. And I've had a lot of people pleasantly surprised at the price. They're like, oh man, I thought it was going to be so much more than that. I'm like, well, I can charge you more if you want, but I've also had people that's, oh man, I thought this was going to be a few $100s. I'm like, well, okay, well, I have more than that in just product cost, right? So, I don't know what your average ticket is in Austin. I've got a pretty good idea, but I can tell you, here in Arizona, the average fence is typically $1,500 to $2,000. I mean, we're not talking about life-altering amounts of money here to protect our little ones. So, we do try to keep the price as reasonable as we possibly can, so that price isn't a barrier to them getting a barrier, right? So we don't, price it to the moon where people can't afford it or whatever. I mean, we try to give them the best product we can at a reasonable price, and everybody's happy. So I don't know what your experience is in Austin there with average ticket price and what do you see? And I know the backyards are very different there, right? So the pricing could be kind of all over the place, but like just kind of an average cost for just an average family in Austin. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I would imagine that the average is about the same. It's kind of the scale just because of the variety that I see there. I'd say average about $2,500 for an average, especially if we're going around a full perimeter to really block off the entirety of the pool there. And, I've been pleasantly surprised as well, just generally for the most part when I present pricing to people. They're, like you said, pleasantly surprised, but they had it in their head that it was going to be more. It is interesting because it's an inexperienced buyer. They probably never bought a pool fence before, so how they come up with a price in the first place, you never really know what they're going to be expecting. But for the most part, especially just looking at other types of contracting, construction, landscaping type of work that goes on, at least in the Austin area, this relatively is between the impact and the safety it's going to provide, how visible it's going to be just generally as a presence in their space, compared to the cost that they're getting. Usually our customers look at that and they say, hey, this is a good, what I'm getting here is definitely worth what I'm paying, basically. I can see that in their face when it's finished, that they're getting more than what they're paying for. They feel like it was the right price for what they got, which I think is the main thing. You don't want it to be mismatched where they, hey, it's a lot, and then it doesn't live up to their expectations or something like that. So I think we just really match the quality we provide and the value we provide with the right pricing for that space. And
Yes, I mean, that's a good feeling for you and a good feeling for them, right? Everybody walks away happy.
Right.
They feel like they're getting a good value,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're providing a good service, making a living, providing for your family. Everybody's
Right.
happy, right? Win-win.
Yeah,
Right.
and the ability to differentiate yourself in other ways, where it's like, I'm going to communicate clearly with you. I'm going to be there when I say I'm going to be there. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. Like that puts you, in my experience at least, ahead of 90% of all the other, similar type functional people they're working with that are doing a landscaping, that are doing their pool, they're doing irrigation or whatever it is. You can really quickly distinguish yourself, and so when you distinguish yourself that way, that makes sense that you're paying for something that's quality, right? They see it in the way that you operate from the first time they talk to you to when it's done and you're leaving, and how you follow up with them. Like, you're dealing with someone that's quality, so you're going to get quality in a product, and you're going to, it's priced the way that it reflects the quality of the work that it is. And like you said, it's not some random person putting up some random product. It's a company with a real mission that's really committed to doing a good job, ensuring safety, and that means it's going to be something that you can count on. And so I haven't encountered anybody that wants all that as cheap as possible, going to be cutting corners. They want, hey, we want it done right. We want it done relatively soon. We want it done by someone who knows it's going to last a long time.
Yeah, I mean, look, even though this is something that our average customer has up for maybe 5 to 10 years, I would say on average, right? They still want a product that is of good quality, right? That's going to last out in the elements. I mean, here in Arizona, the sun is brutal, right? I mean, that's 115 degrees for 4 months out of the year. It bakes everything, right? So I think if our fences can last in Arizona, in the desert, right? The oldest one I've seen with my own eyes was 19 years old, right? I mean, we did a fence for them when they had little ones, and they still had it for the grandkids that they had, right? So I know that what we're producing lasts, and it's going to hold up to the elements of, whatever Arizona can dish out. We can handle it.
I see it also at like something that not having owned a fence before, the idea of it being actually a feature add to the space, right? If people are buying property in Austin, they want it to maintain its value. They're always looking at what it would be if they sold it. I don't know if that's how it is everywhere else, but that seems to be the environment in Austin. And so that flipping around in their mind where, hey, no, this is something where we're adding a feature where you can put a fence around this pool in a way that maintains the functionality of the space. That's something that if you're ever trying to sell it, is going to be a feature add for the people moving in, or you have a bigger market, people with kiddos that are maybe interested in it. Same thing if you're going to rent it, right? All these companies that have rental properties, like having safety there for your renters is big in a lot of different ways. And so flipping around in their mind from something I have to get to, hey, this is a feature add to the space, and I'm going to get exactly, I'm going to get the quality out of it. Is it's going to last a long time. It's got a quality warranty to it, all that type of thing. It just is a no-brainer.
Yeah, we've seen a big shift in, I guess, pool safety in general, with not only new laws that are coming on the books. I've also seen a huge shift in insurance companies. So, because that's who's paying. Right? When something happens, when there's an incident or an accident, those insurance companies are first in line to pay up. And so now they're shifting their mindset. And a lot of homeowners insurance now will not insure you if you have a pool without a barrier, right? I've seen it. A number of the large carriers have implemented those rules now, right? They don't want that risk. Well, if your insurance company doesn't want that risk, I think they have the data, right? They know what they're talking about. They have people studying this, right? So if they're not willing to write a policy on a pool or a home with a pool that doesn't have a barrier, it might be something that you want to think about.
I see that a lot.
Yep. And then with we work with a number of the large, rental home owners, and it's it's their insurance companies are the ones that are, cracking down and enforcing this and forcing them to ensure that the pools are safe and have a barrier up.
Right.
So it's encouraging to me to see more and more, I guess, different industries start taking this seriously.
It's a wave of, I don't know, maybe the word's culturally. I've seen it for sure in my lifetime, and just the general approach to pool safety in a variety of ways. I think most recently fencing in general, but in terms of covers and the other things there, like there's definitely more of an attitude of like, whether it's a family who, and my parents didn't have it, but I'm definitely getting one kind of a thing. Maybe it's because I know there were a lot more regulations in the past in like the California, Arizona area than there were in Texas and other states. So maybe I think it's coming over from there a little bit. A lot of people moving into new homes. Maybe they're from Texas, maybe they're not, and they're getting it's top of mind for them. It's one of the first things on their priority list versus just growing up. I had some experience with it as a family friend of mine had a tragedy when we were young, and so it was on my radar or something. But we had pools too, and I watched my parents have this exact kind of worry. Like, we don't like what's out there. We don't we don't want it to look bad. We don't think other people are really doing this, but we also are worried, right? And we also are kind of trying to deal with so just watching that dynamic when I was younger with my parents, kind of trying to figure that situation out. It brings a lot of bringing peace to that situation of being, hey, here's the solution that's going to fit right down the middle, that's going to address the different things. Like, just brings a lot of it just feels good when the product you're providing really hits the mark on what is the variety of things that people are trying to get a middle ground on. And so the piece that a mom has when she's talking to me, I know that there's a piece just generally in that family of something that can just be off of their plate, off of their mind, and that load off. I think it's probably the most common feedback I get. It's between, hey, this looks better than we thought it was going to, which is good. I that's my favorite probably, or one of my favorites, because when you work with people who aren't always thrilled about it, it's not as fun at first. You're like, oh man, I'm doing this whole thing, and they're not really thrilled about it. But it puts you in a good spot at the end of it where they're like, wow, this is really, exactly what you said it was going to be when you said it was going to be. It looks good. Like, that is just they're in a good spot to earn just a happy customer that was not really sure about how it was going to work, or I'm worried about installing in the deck, or all these different things to meet their kind of expectation and be like, okay, wow, this actually worked out. Particularly in that situation we were talking about where the maybe wife has to convince the husband or goes a little bit out on a limb to do it, and it turns out to be a really good quality product. The installation went good, everything went fine, there weren't any major issues or regrets for doing it. Then it's like, okay, I've got that piece, I did the right thing. I made it.
It's probably one of the most common comments that we get is, and it kind of makes me laugh every time they're like, oh, well, it doesn't look near as bad as I thought it was going to, right? I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's completely transparent. I tell people, look, it's really not any different than looking through a screen on a window, right? I mean, you see this, I mean, you see right through it, right? But it's a very common comment that we get of, oh, this looks so much better than I thought it was going to, or this wasn't near as bad as I thought it was going to be, or people phrase it different ways, but the gist of it is that they're pleasantly surprised at how it looks when it's up in their backyard.
And in one way, where it feels good to reward that parent who kind of went out on a limb to get it to, hey, this was a good decision. And the same way you're talking about with new insurance and laws, different things, people who are having to get it for those purposes be like, okay, well, I didn't really want it, but this does, this is something that I'm pleased with. Is a newer situation for us, right? If it is because of insurance or because of the laws and requirements and that type of thing, but it's still an opportunity for us to, excel in a spot where people aren't sure how it's going to work out or how quality it's going to be. And so it's just feels good to go into that and over deliver.
We've even seen, mortgage companies, back when interest rates were super low, a lot of people were refinancing, and a lot of the mortgage companies wouldn't write a new loan on a home that had a pool without a barrier. Period. They just wouldn't do it. So we were seeing a lot of people needing to put a barrier up just to close on their mortgage.
Interesting. We had series. I wasn't able to quite pinpoint what was causing it, but it was just a series of people who were, because insurance costs had changed, they said, I'm going to find a new provider. I'm not going to renew my old plan. But in doing that, trying to get a lower price, they had to have it reappraised, re-inspected, right? And then they're like, okay, now I need one.
Yeah.
So they kind of got themselves in an interesting spot because insurance costs were going up pretty dramatically in the last couple of years, I guess. And so
Yeah. And look, I mean, we would much rather people do it just because they want to do it, because it's
sure.
the right thing to do, instead of their hand being forced, right?
People are in a variety of situations, right? And being able to meet whatever that situation is that they're sort of in, and being able to address that and add value in whatever the situation is that comes up is something that it feels good to be a part of. That it feels good to work, when something takes longer than it should, or hey, I'm working on getting this just right, like kind of going back to just the quality of the company and the product that y'all have gotten started here and the mission of it. It makes it easier to work hard or really want to do a good job when I know that standard's kind of what everybody's working toward, and not just
Right.
me over in Austin. Y'all are just really consistent and easy to work with, and I really think you nailed it with just the peace of mind. That's the most common situation. I leave a project. The most common situation is that a mom's there with her kiddos, and they're like in their backyard looking at it, seeing what's going on, and just the mom gets to watch the kiddo like go up to it and not be able to use it, not be able to open it, not be able to, and just watching her experience that for the first time as I'm packing up and getting ready to go, just kind of observing how they operate. That has been communicated to me several times, and you just see it, the peace of mind that like, hey, I immediately feel better about, the situation that I have got here in this space, my yard. I spend a lot of time making it look good. I've been growing these trees, the grass, whatever it is, and I really like it, but it's scaring me, and I'm able to come up with a good solution. We're able to enjoy this space, and I'm feeling really good about it. I think is my favorite spot to be in, just being able to provide that same kind of thing when they are in a new home or they've just built a new pool. They're excited about it, but being able to add that layer of peace of mind right on top of the investment they've made and kind of the future they want to enjoy the pool with, adding the element of peace to it is
you
huge.
see that stress level come down just immediately. Like, it's just like a weight's been lifted. Like, we're finishing up a job, and like you said, mom's out there, little ones running around, can't get to the pool.
Right.
She's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, right?
Right.
They can sit out, they can have dinner at their outdoor patio, right? And let the kids run around. Not saying that you still don't keep an eye on them, of course you do, but you're not having to watch them like a hawk, right? If you didn't have a barrier in place.
Yeah.
Right. So just, we see that, that stress level come down immediately, and just love getting those calls or comments or an email or even a text message or whatever, hey, found Susie in the backyard, yesterday, and, thank you.
Yeah, it's in experiencing parenthood now, myself, my little boy's walking around, toddling around, like, we've done a ton to just child safety proof the home, right? Just get everything out of grabbing
That's
distance,
because it's
right?
your first one.
Right, and so just every, we don't have a pool at our home, but the idea of having that added on threat at all times while every other thing's going on, we're taking care of him, watching him, everything we're doing. If that were like an existing threat at all times, would be really difficult for everything that we're already trying to do to kind of be under that. Hey, there's at all times there's a pool there, and so I can relate to what it feels like to remove that away and be able to, there's so many other things especially if you're moving or you're in a new home or, you're just experiencing parenthood with little ones for the first time and what it's like to be around 2 or 3 of them that are quick and running around, and it's just new. And so being able to take that one thing away and let them focus on everything else that's fun and enjoying and challenges of parenthood without that being a threat, I think is really impactful for me.
But, your job as mom and dad to protect him, right?
Right.
You do everything that you can. You're putting latches on cabinets and
Right.
covers on toilets or, whatever you're doing, right?
Well, that's the point. When we talk about this, when you say sometimes they don't think about the pool that's in their backyard, yet they're so busy, making sure that everything is childproof within the home.
Being able to change it in customers to see it as in the same line as the stroller they're getting, or the crib that they're
Right,
getting, or
right.
the safety gate they're putting on the stairs, or the
Yes.
safety thing that's around a trampoline that might be in their backyard, right? It's
Right.
like you would, if you saw a trampoline without a net around it, you'd be like,
Right. Well, and that's
That's
well,
weird.
And I used to jump on one that
Right,
did not have a
right.
net. But
And that's-
yes, but that's the point.
I think that's a good symbol,
Yeah,
like a good
Analogy.
similar situation
Analogy,
where at one
yeah.
time, and like now you see them now and you're like, wow, it'd be weird to, like, you just
Right.
bounce right off of it, right? Like, how do you stay on?
I mean,
So
I flew off. I mean, but again, mainstream. All of these parents are, educating themselves on car seats and strollers
Right.
and the best baby gates. And what about the pool in your backyard?
right, and this is in the
What are you
exact
going?
same.
Right. What are you going to do there? And so it is my passion and mission, as I know it is, all of A Safe Pool. But I want to see this talked about more. I want parents to think about the pool in their backyard. Just as they're going to the pediatrician's office. I was talking to, somebody who had lost their child, and she said, we realized that when we go to the pediatrician's office, they hand us all of these pamphlets, but they don't ask, do you have a pool? What are you going to do there to keep your child safe? And when I say we should infiltrate, pediatricians' offices, it really should
You're
be
right.
right up there with car seats and everything else. We say it all the time. Do you get in your car and not put a seatbelt on?
Right.
So I just wish that again it was more mainstream. I don't, like you said, it's in your backyard. It's part of your
Right.
house.
There's definitely a mental thing, and just in working with customers and talking to them, that it's getting a fence it's lumped into like doing a landscaping project or something else with your home, as opposed to being something that's a child safety measure. It's
Right.
like it's kind of just in a different category in
Yeah.
people's mind
Yeah,
for some reason.
I agree.
And,
We need to move it over.
Right,
We
right,
really-
and
we
that
really do.
going back to like, having people that kind of just do projects with all types of different material, and they
Yeah.
show up when they're going to show up, and they don't communicate well, and whatever that is, like that's a symptom of that type of thing. And so we're lumped in with that, and that's how a lot of it seems like the other companies have been operating. And so I think it's the quality of how we operate that pulls how we're viewed over into a different, because you
Right.
see all the baby safety stuff, it's super high quality, it's not cheap, it's like there's a
Right.
ton of it.
Right.
There's a lot of engineering and thought that goes into all of it, and
Mm-hmm.
so being in that category in people's mind, I think is
Mm-hmm.
something I've just noticed the difference in the way people visualize it,
Right.
and that totally impacts their openness to the idea in the first place,
Yeah.
or looking for a solution.
Yeah, that's a good point. What is it like to own your own company, your own business, and have
Yeah.
a family of your own?
It's a good question. It's something that I always liked the idea of. And it was, a big jump away from, having just a typical kind of corporate job. I was working from home and that type of thing. But I have loved it. I mean, just being able to have the balance of owning my own schedule, owning what I'm doing every day. If I'm working late, it's because I set it up to operate that way, and
Right.
it's what I'm trying to get done for my business that I've created, as opposed to trying to just do that for a salary that's going somewhere else.
Right.
But also have the same kind of, we talked about with you all as partners that are there when we really need it,
Yeah.
have tons of expertise and experience, are really, really reachable. And so feeling like you're not out there alone, but you also have ownership of it,
Right.
has been the right combination. Being able to set my hours that work well with my family, being able to really get good experience in just running a business in terms of the start to finish aspect of it, from the very beginning, of the sales process to the end. But at the same time, having the manufacturing and products in the background that I could count on
Right.
from you all was really, really important to getting going. Obviously, the partnership with Michael Phelps adds a ton of credibility to it as well.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what made it the right balance of owning my own operation there, running it myself, being able to really work for myself and what I'm trying to build
Right.
there, but having really good partners at the same time that made it clear that I wasn't there by myself and was part of a team, part of a big organization.
and we feel the same equally in the way of, it is a partnership, and, we're grateful for every single franchisee we have, because it helps to get the mission out. It helps to save more lives. And I think for us, it is rewarding when we get to watch, someone like you build this business for yourself and your family. And knowing, us raising our two daughters, the flexibility that you can have to watch your little ones grow, or be there for a baseball game one day, or
Right.
whatever it is that they're doing, is also equally priceless. Yeah.
It has been good. I think something I didn't expect as well is just the engagement in my own community, right? Like and again, it's kind of in comparison to, being in a corporate world where I'm on a team with people who are all over the country. I meet with them on Zoom. My clientele are all over the country. I don't have that like kind of connection. And all of a sudden I'm going and doing work at the homes and neighborhoods that are right around where I am. Like my neighbors' kids are the ones that I'm, engaged with, working with, and protecting. And so like something about that was something I didn't anticipate, but enjoying living in Texas, really liking that Central Texas area, being able to engage with it in this way and like work in my own community, I think makes me feel like I'm really a part of it. I'm really contributing, having an impact on, the area around you.
Has to feel rewarding. I would
Definitely.
think too, yeah.
So much of it made sense on paper, right? In terms of the financials of it, or, what I felt like I could do in that specific Central Texas area. Getting to meet you all, and, the business that you all have created here, I mean, it speaks for itself. So from a logical standpoint and just quality standpoint, it was obvious that you all were running something here that was going to be real and was going to grow, and that I could count on to be the way that I provide for a family. But I didn't expect being able to work with families in particular, having a child of my own, having a mom that stresses about the safety of her child, being like right in that stage, how much, each day when I leave a project after I've worked on it that I'm really proud of, but I know is really making a difference every day, and they're all out there right now standing up, being protected. I really didn't expect that going into it. I hoped for it. When I was looking at different companies to potentially partner with, you all were the one that I really saw that potential with, just from the way you all talked about it, the passion that you all clearly have. And
I know you were looking at a few different things. I know when we first started talking, you were looking at a handful of different options that were available to you.
I mean, so one of them, for example, was a company that I think in a lot of ways could be similar, but they did interior blinds. So, for example, they would do like blinds and curtains and that type of thing. So, when I was looking at that, it was something that's like, wow, I'm looking out here looking for a business. But what I didn't expect to find, and what I was pleasantly surprised with to find, was a business that is actually doing good, right? It's like, hey, making the interior of the home look nice, that's great, but being able to run something and own something that's actually having an impact on children and young people all around the Central Texas community was like just something I didn't expect to have the opportunity to do when I started looking, and I didn't find that impact anywhere near possible with any other type of company that I was, looking to partner with. And so I think there's just something extra there about in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, and I definitely don't want to come across as, knocking the blind guy or, this guy selling blinds or carpet or flooring or whatever, right? It's all great trades and great businesses, and, I hope they knock it out of the park.
Right,
but this business hits differently when we hear those stories of, what we're accomplishing here and protecting the little ones. There's just to me, there's just a different level of satisfaction and pride in our work and what we do.
Because the stakes are high that way, it makes me bring that quality to every conversation you have, each home you're in, each person you're talking to. It makes it just matter that much more because, it's very, very directly impactful on lives.
I mean, what we have preached and beat a dead horse here with our installers is that I want you to treat this like it's your own backyard.
Right.
Like your kid's life is at stake here, because that's what we're talking about, right? I don't want to see gaps. I don't want to see corners cut. I want it to be completely safe. right? So we really try to approach each job as if it's our own backyard, if it's our own children running around back here, right? We don't want anything happening on our watch.
Right. The amount of drownings that happen throughout the year, it's a tangible thing. You feel like you can really make an impact on, right? Like I think they're actual lives, they're real people that are out there that we can have an impact on, and so I think that's such a good goal or kind of metric, or sort of just North Star to bring that total down, is I think something that's tangible too, and that bringing that number happens every day with the fences that are out there standing up and just them working every day, and it's good.
Yeah. So, Travis, look, I guess I wanted to close with just, thank you for, you are exactly, the type of person that we're looking for to further our mission of reducing drownings across the country. You stepped up, you took it serious. I know you take it seriously. I know you do good work. I see the photographs of the jobs that you do. So thank you for what you're doing in Austin.
Yep, really, truly. Yep.
Absolutely. I'm super appreciative of the opportunity. Like I said, it feels good to work hard every day when you have partners that really care about the mission, that you all brought me into that mission, and I've been able to take it and make it my own and run with it. And it feels, like I said, worthwhile and worth doing when you have a team that cares about it just as much as you do, and it's been good. I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah, we're grateful for you, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you all.